Now, unfortunately, our current administration doesn't really seem to understand what they should be standing for. And as a result, they just sent Anthony Blinken to China on a diplomatic mission to speak to the Chinese and to try to come up with some kind of understanding that's mutually beneficial for both of us. Now, before I get to exactly what was the end result of that, from as far as I can tell, I want to just tell you that when I see what's happening in the Biden administration, I wish for the orange man to come back with his tweeting and to take back over. I am no huge Donald Trump fan, and if I have my choice, I'd rather have DeSantis in office rather than Trump. And hopefully, for those of you who are honest enough that aren't even Republicans, you can maybe parse the difference between these two guys a little bit. I won't get into that because whether you're for Trump or DeSantis, I don't care as far as it's relevant here. But all I'm saying is that it makes me long for better days when there weren't complete incompetent fools in charge of our administration, because here we have Anthony Blinken going to a country that has imprisoned over 1 million Uyghur Muslims simply because of their ethnicity, and not saying a thing about it. In fact, all we get from him is comments like this when he gets back home. So here's Blinken talking to us about his stance on China and Taiwan.
I raised U.S. concerns, shared by a growing number of countries, about the PRC's provocative actions in the Taiwan Strait, as well as in the South and East China Seas. On Taiwan, I reiterated the long-standing U.S. One China policy. That policy has not changed. It's guided by the Taiwan Relations Act, the 3 joint communiques, the 6 assurances. We do not support Taiwan independence. We remain opposed to any unilateral changes to the status quo by either side. We continue to expect the peaceful resolution of cross-strait differences. We remain committed to meeting our responsibilities under the Taiwan Relations Act, including making sure that Taiwan has the ability to defend itself.
So there we have it. They opposed Taiwanese independence. Well, color me skeptical, but I can't help but think that when Anthony Blinken spoke with the Chinese, they said, hey, you need to make sure you oppose Taiwanese independence, and then we'll talk a little bit. Because why else would Nancy Pelosi, on her last days in office, go to visit Taiwan, stirring up the ire of the Taiwanese? Why else would we see the Chinese staging military operations around Taiwan and then Anthony Blinken stand up and oppose Taiwanese independence? I thought the left in America today, the Democratic Party, was supposed to be for the socially ostracized, those people who are suffering and marginalized and lack social justice. If you want to know why, I, as a conservative, and many other conservatives and Christians as well, rightly mock the left and the Democratic Party of today for being woke, this is why. Because we think you are utterly hypocritical. And for the woke social justice warrior, there is oppression around every single corner, and they will find it wherever they possibly can. Except, of course, in the areas where it matters most. This is why conservatives don't listen to LeBron James and think he's a total hack, because he might be good at basketball, but when he gets into social issues and refuses to stand against China, he's lost all credibility. It's clear that one of the greatest civil rights violators in the present is the Chinese. And I'm saying this at risk to big tech, which is in the pocket of China. If this podcast doesn't get many views, it is because there are people out there who are totally in bed with China, and you need to just know this beyond a shadow of a doubt. And if you really care about social justice, you'll remove the word social from it, and you'll just desire justice in every circumstance. And you'll be honest about it when it's achieved by the left, and you'll be honest about it when it's achieved by the right. So this is why we make fun of the woke movement, because it's not really interested in Uyghur Muslims, not really interested in the oppression of Taiwan and what China is doing. It's interested in merely political gain, which may be why Donald Trump is being indicted and charged with having all these boxes of information when Joe Biden had them as well. When, of course, one was the president and one was the vice president, while these boxes were in their possession. So suffice to say, the double standard here is glaring. The inanity of wokeism is totally glaring, and why Christians must also call out the nonsense of wokeism whenever they find it. Look, I get it. You have a bleeding heart. You want to stand up for people, and you find the easiest way to possibly do that that will cost you nothing. I, on the other hand, think that it is incumbent upon us to define love before we actually define what social justice is. And if we understand that love is willing the good of the other, then that means that if we're truly going to stand for justice, that we must do that which is in the best interest of other people, which would mean we do not allow Big Pharma to line their pockets with the money of confused small children that are under the age of 18 who think that they are trapped in the wrong body. We take a stand against a clinical profession that says that it is abuse to engage in conversion therapy. But when a person comes into their office and says, hey, I'm kind of battling gender dysphoria, or I'm battling being trapped in the wrong body, they immediately march them into a clinic where they can then make sure that that person's body is butchered. So if a person experiences trauma, maybe it's best, in other words, not to just give them physical trauma, to also add to their emotional trauma. But the woke in modern society today won't define love, and therefore doesn't understand social justice, where it becomes incumbent upon us as Christians to do so. We must show that we have the true definition of love, which makes us uniquely qualified for the role of understanding what justice truly looks like. So you just got done watching a small excerpt of a much larger episode. You can find the link to that full episode down below in the description of this video. So you definitely want to check that out, because if you like that clip, you'll like the much larger episode. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and click that little bell to be notified when great new episodes of Indie Thinker come your way. Thanks for watching.